Dr. Heather Moore. I am Total Performance Physical Therapy. I got my microphone on, and we are going to talk tonight about how you can herniate, bulge, blow out your disc while you're sitting here watching this video. So again, wanted to thank everybody who emailed me, came up to me, commented on the last video. It's much appreciated. A little known fact about this is that this is out of my comfort zone. I do a lot of public speaking. I do a lot of videos, and people think that this is just something that comes naturally and easy. They always say, you know, you should do one thing every day that challenges yourself and pushes you outside of your comfort zone. So this is definitely it. So I appreciate when you guys give me feedback. So feel free to like this, leave a comment, share it. Lets me know you're watching, lets me know what you want to learn about. So how to blow a disc out. So I'm not really sure what how to blow a disc out means. I hear it often in here. People say, I blew a disc out. It's not a medical term, and I'm not quite exactly sure what they mean by when they blow a disc out. Usually that equates to an MRI that has a herniated disc or a bulging disc, but I hear a lot in here, I blew a disc out, and I have no idea why. Most of what we treat in here, people have no idea how they did it, and most of what we treat is not traumatic, meaning you didn't fall, you didn't get into a car accident, you didn't do anything that would precipitate you saying, oh, like the aha moment of, I did this, therefore I have this. It didn't work that way. So a lot of times, most of the time, people come in here and say, you know what, I bent over and I couldn't get off the floor, or I couldn't stand up straight, or I couldn't get out of bed, or I stood up from my desk at work and I could not drive home, or I couldn't get out of my car when I got home. The pain was so great. But I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything that I didn't do all, you know, every other day. I was at work, I did this, I did that, it was normal. I've retraced all of my steps and nothing was different. Well, here's this little known fact that people fail to realize is that most injuries, most of what we treat, most of what takes you out of the game, most of what plagues you is not a traumatic injury. It's stuff you do every day, all day. So your body is a machine, just like your car is a machine. If you don't treat it right, and you don't oil it, and you don't do things the correct, and you don't use parts the way they're supposed to, it's not going to work well. And you're going to break down. And the longer you ignore it, the more it's going to happen. So what do I mean by that? So, and how are you going to blow a disc just watching this video? So most of you are probably now retired to a couch, a chair, doing kind of a relaxing evening. Some of you with kids are, you know, gearing up for tomorrow. But what you are not really doing is sitting at an ergonomically correct desk, and you're not paying attention to what your posture looks like. Probably some of you are now, and you sat up straight. So, you know, good job. But most of you, before you started listening to this, were just kind of sitting on the couch, you know, not having proper posture. So what happens is that over time, when you slump and you sit like this, like I am right now, most of you sit like this a lot during the day. Most of you are just slumped over, sitting at your desk. No big deal. It doesn't feel, sometimes it even feels good. That's the highest amount of pressure you can put on your discs. So what that means is that every time you sit like this, you are literally herniating your discs. So if you sit like this for an hour in a meeting, or you sit like this for 8 hours a day, for 8 hours you have done nothing but herniate your discs. It doesn't take lifting 100 pounds off the floor to herniate your discs. As your spine goes into this crunched or this flexed position, you start to herniate your disc, and you start to put a tremendous amount of pressure on those discs. So what I say is you can blow out a disc just watching this. If you're sitting there like this, all of a sudden you start to feel that irritation, you start to feel that pain. You've done, you've blown a disc, herniated a disc, however you want to call it, bulged a disc, they all mean the same thing while you are watching this. And it was just the straw that broke the camel's back. You've sat like this 1,000 times and nothing ever happened. And you're right, you could sit like this 1,000 more. And maybe your dad sat like this 1,000 more times than you did. Fact of the matter is that eventually it breaks. Your discs cannot sustain this amount of pressure for as long as we want it to happen. And while we're sitting like this, gravity's working on it. Our body weight is working on it. So it's not as if it's nothing. It's not, oh, it's just me. I'm just sitting like this. You're actually damaging everything in your spine when you sit like this. So when people come and say, I herniated disc, I don't know how, I slipped a disc, I blew a disc, I did this, that's how. And that's how the nothing that you did was actually something you did for 8 hours. Now let's talk about the fact that if you were to bend over and pick something up. You ever want to see how to bend over and pick something up? Throw a medicine ball into a daycare of 3-year-olds. If you have kids, you've probably observed this. If you haven't, what's going to happen is they're going to waddle over, they're going to squat their butt to the ground, and they're going to pick it up. They're going to pull it close to their body, and they're going to pick it up. No one's going to come over from over here, twist around, reach around, and try and grab this medicine ball. Now, if you and I were trying to get it, we would do something like that. You know, we'd bend, we'd reach, we'd grab. Every single one of those 2- and 3-year-olds would walk over, squat, butt to the ground, grab the medicine ball, and come back up. There would be no rotation. That's how kids stay injury-free. Over time, you lose that. It's easier just to bend down and pick it up. Who wants to squat to the ground? Our legs grow weaker. So a lot of people can't actually do a full squat. I challenge you to do a full squat right now to the ground. Many people can't. And I challenge you to do 10 in a row. Most people can get maybe halfway, maybe a little bit more than halfway. When I say squat to the ground, your heels stay on the ground and you go butt to the floor. And you pick something up and you come up. Completely unnatural. Yet when we bend over and pick something up, second highest amount of pressure that we put on our disc. So we do this 10 times a day, picking up toys, picking up something on in our desk or whatever. 10 times a day, we're doing this. Now, you complicate that by, most of the time, it's not a straight bend, it's a bend and a twist. All right? So now, 10 times a day, you're bending and twisting. So now you're actually forcing your disc out one side. All right? So every time you do one of these movements, it's like lifting 100 pounds. It's like getting into a car accident. Your body eventually says, enough. It can't do this forever. It can't sustain bending, twisting, lifting, reaching, carrying objects way out here that you can't handle, that's going to pull you into that forward posture, that's going to herniate your discs. Guys, things you do every day cause the pain you're in. I can't stress this enough. One of the biggest things that we do at Total Performance is talk about education, talk about posture. When somebody comes in and sees me for the first time, there is not a chance that I do not talk about what are you doing outside of here. Because if I don't fix what's happening outside of there, anything you do in here is not going to matter. So when I sit there and most of the bulk of our first meeting is, let's fix what you're doing outside of here, and most people don't even realize it. I challenge you to really take a look at what you do every day. You have no idea how many times you bend over and pick something up. You have no idea that your desk is here, but your monitor is here, or everything you do is over here. Most people come in, especially like with a neck injury, and they're going to be tilted like this, or they're tilted like this. Now, no one's ever pointed it out because I have an eye like that. So I look at it, I'm like, you know your head's off to the right. No, they generally have no idea, but it's just things that you do every day that are so menial, they're so easy, but they cause you the worst trouble. And if you go and you correct them, you're going to feel better overall. It doesn't take a posture exercise to not get you to bend over. It takes you squatting to the floor and picking something up. And yeah, it's a lot harder to do so, but your legs are going to get a good workout. And it's exactly how we were meant to pick things up. We squat to the ground and we pick them up. We don't bend and herniate all our discs. We don't sit at our computer like this, hunched over. It actually is hurting my back to do that. I've demonstrated it so many times. It is not a traumatic injury that will bring you in here. It is not a traumatic injury that will end doing the things that you love. I can almost guarantee that. Those are so few and far between. They are probably 1% of why people are in here. 99% of why people are in here because they can't do things that they love. Why can't they do things that they love? Because of the menial things they do every day and don't realize it. You can't beat the system. I promise you, you can't beat it. Unless there is a traumatic injury and then everything changes, you can't beat the system. It's going to catch up with you. So you can compare all you want to your friends and neighbors and family, and I hear it every day. Well, my dad did this, my dad did this for 50 years, my mom did this, you know my neighbor, you know my cubby, blah, blah, blah. I hear about everybody in everybody's life and how everybody's able to do this 1,000 times a day and never had a problem. I say to that, you didn't live your life exactly as that person did. So you can't say that, oh, my dad was able to run 7 marathons in a year and never had any problems. I do my first marathon and, you know, I have a problem. Well, was your dad a manual laborer? Maybe his legs were a little bit stronger, not necessarily in a running sense, but just from a strength sense. Are you somebody that sits at a desk all day? That makes a huge difference. You know, so even if you follow in your dad in the exact same footsteps, let's say you have the same profession. What happens to you is different than everybody else. So I know the stories. I know how many times your neighbor does this. I know that you met somebody in the hospital that does this a little bit differently. I've heard it all, okay? But I'm telling you, there's a breaking point. And I hope that you listen to some of my advice and it stops that breaking point. It's just a snowball. It's going to get you eventually. It just adds and adds and adds and adds and adds. And that pain that you feel one day and you're like, oh, I felt a little pain. I did a little this. I did maybe a little this. I looked online and they said to do something like this. Now it's gone. It's not gone, especially if you feel it like a month later, maybe 2 months later, maybe 6 months later. And you're like, oh, that same pain is back, but I'm just going to do this. And, oh, now it's gone. It's not gone. You've compensated for it. You've changed the way your body reacts, which then puts even more pressure on your discs, which even causes more pressure as you sit. And instead of having this nice spine that goes like this, you kind of have a spine that goes more like this. So this disc is taking pressure down the middle, but this disc is taking pressure off to the right or to the left. And as it goes down, and it's not dissipating the force correctly. It is very easy to slip a disc, blow a disc, herniate a disc, bulge a disc, whatever your terminology is, it is very easy because we spend most of our day forcing our discs to herniate. That's all we do for 8, 10, 12 hours. And then if you go to sleep and you sleep on your stomach, you jam that back into extension and you wind up forcing your discs to herniate for another 12 hours. All right? So pay attention to what you do every day. It makes a huge difference. It will keep you out of here. It will keep you doing the things that you love. That's how I stay not injured, is when I get injured, I figure out what the heck I'm doing. And it's usually something stupid that I haven't realized, but I've adapted a posture or I've adapted something because I need to hurry up. That's my whole life. I've got to run somewhere. So look at it. Figure it out. You're going to change based on your environment. You're going to change based on the constraints to your life. Your body is a magical tool. It will allow you to do that for a long time without feeling pain. And then one day you'll have pain and the pain won't be able to go away. And not only will you not be able to do the things that you love, you won't be able to do anything, basically, and you'll be in here. So take my words of advice. We are offering a free back workshop. I am posting the link below so you can go and sign up so you can hear more from me, babble on, about posture and specific causes of back pain and what you can do to solve that. So look in the link below and I will post that where you can go and sign up for our free back workshop. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a great night and a great week.